Right, welcome back, and thanks for coming back to our last speaker session of the day before we go into panel. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Raul Gabriel Irma, who's the CEO and founder of Cambridge Spark. Now, Cambridge Spark is focused on helping businesses achieve their goals by educating their current and future workforce in data science and AI. So we're going to change pace here a little bit and talk about the skills required to actually work and develop in this space even further. And I can think of really probably not too many people that are better qualified to talk on this whole skills thing after looking at Raul's bio. He's got a PhD in computer science from Cambridge University, a master in engineering and computer science from Imperial College with first-class honors. And he's also worked with some of the biggest companies around the globe, including Google, Oracle, eBay, and Goldman Sachs. All right, so I can think of really probably nobody better to speak around this. So, Raul, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me. Can you confirm you can hear me well, Mike?
We can hear you fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. So thank you very much for everyone for organizing such a wonderful conference. It's great to be here. And I'll be talking to you about the skills for data world. I've left my contact details here in case anyone wants to reach out. So like Mike says, I run a company called Cambridge Spark. I'm also a fellow at Cambridge University in case anyone's interested to connect with the research done in the computer science department in Cambridge. So in my talk, I don't need to describe to you why data is important and what we can do with machine learning. Actually, I'd like to talk about the less sexy stuff, the problems. And here's a great picture, which I think really bring the point of data quality home. So when we talk about the skills for data world, what are the problems that we have dealing with data? Well, real data is messy. It is poor. We can't really have it in a consistent format. So here's an example where you see really cute dogs that are mixed with what looks like sometimes an appetizing cupcake, sometimes not so much. So what is the point here? Well, real world data is messy. So an example would be, we have to deal with UK dates, but US dates as well, and they come in different format. So if we're looking at doing a forecast of sales in a particular month, a particular day, we're best not to confuse 5th of October with 10th of May, right? But this is actually a very common situation with the data that we work with on the day-to-day. Another example might be mixed currencies, GBP to dollars. Actually, forecasting revenue, if we don't know that the currency is the same across all the data points, then we may well be in trouble. So when we talk about the skills for data world, I think it's really important that we kind of take a step back and realize what are all the problems that have a direct impact, a negative impact on business outcomes. And the first one is data quality, but that's not it. A second problem is actually the tools and technologies that we use have limitations, and often those are poorly documented or poorly known. Unfortunately, those limitations can have a direct impact on business outcomes, or in the case of the UK government, so through an NHS program, lost in data results. So there was a really important story last year that was published, actually, due to using an old data format, different data points on COVID-19 results were lost just because the data format was not supporting enough rows. So what this means is actually when we think about the skills for data world, not only do we need to think about the importance of data quality and how to work with it, but also what are limitations of the tools that we use, because that can negatively impact research and decisions as well. Now, another problem, and I think Alicia made a great point earlier, is we live in a world now that is driven by machine learning models. So those are models that are trained or are making inference based on data. However, data isn't static. The data is dynamic. And this is not a story of last year. If you imagine Amazon has a recommendation engine and they can make recommendations of product that you should buy based on a user behavior, they could not predict that comes March 2020, a lot of people will need to buy toilet paper and hand sanitizer. So this is real evidence that models actually are only useful if they can be retrained and updated using dynamic data, using the latest information available. If they're just trained on static data, they become obsolete. So again, when we think about the skills for data world, it's important to realize that we live in a world where data is continuously changing, and we have to build systems that can cope with that so they can remain relevant. And finally, the last problem before I summarize it is ethics and how we work with data. So this cartoon is taken from XKCD, which is a famous geeky comic. Every day they publish a new cartoon. And I really like this one. So, we've looked at the data and we realize it's flawed. It might be in different ways. It might be that there's imbalances in the data. Maybe there's certain category that's more prominent than the other one. Maybe we've got a restricted sample that's not representative. Maybe it's messy. So what are the possible behavior when we face this scenario? And by the way, this is a very typical scenario that a data analyst or data scientist may face when they look at data. So a good behavior would be, well, actually, can't trust this data. So our conclusions, we shouldn't trust them either, right? Because if the data is wrong in the first place, then I think the topic here is all models are wrong, then we should definitely not make a decision based on that. So that's good behavior. We're being honest. Now, an example of a bad behavior, so potentially unethical, is actually, let's try and figure out the right story with the data we've got. So maybe there's a fancy test that we can do on the data that's going to prove a point. So we try to find the right statistical formula that's going to derive the outcome that we want to say in the first place. So that's pretty unethical. It's actually, we're trying to manipulate a story to advantage. And then there's very, very bad, which is actually, let's just manipulate the data in the first place. Let's actually generate the data that we are after to make a point. So those are real world problems that happen every day in large organizations and government departments that actually have to make informed decisions based on data. So if I summarize the key insights here, we live in a world that actually has a ton of data. We don't need to be convinced about that, but is actually quite challenging. Data quality has a direct impact on business outcomes. So I think one of the themes of the conference is that today we're programming with data rather than programming the model. Actually, the data creates the model. So we better make sure that the data is trustworthy and of quality in the first place. So we need skills to do that. We need to be able to challenge the data that we're working with. The second one is different tools will have different benefits, but also different limitations, which may well impact the workflow and the outcomes that we get. Third, data isn't static. The models that we use today have to be updated and retrained using dynamic data. And COVID provided the best example of models decaying and becoming obsolete. So again, we need skills to be able to, one, realize that there is an issue, and then two, figure out the right process to continuously update the models so they are relevant. And finally, it's around ethics and regulations. Data can be manipulated to achieve a particular story or outcome. So what are the opportunities here in terms of skills? Well, I think there's an opportunity for everyone in all organizations to be a good data citizen, right? To have higher quality data practice and mindset to support the organization's success. But what's needed to achieve that? Well, it turns out that within organization, everybody can contribute to that journey, but there would be different roles that will be tackling different problems. So let me briefly review what those roles are. So I think everyone benefits from becoming more confident working with data. After all, it's becoming increasingly rare for someone not to look at a spreadsheet or to look at an app that has information and data. So I think we are all in a world where we are data citizens. So the business value here in picking up data literacy is to have enhanced productivity and role mobility with an organization and stay relevant. The next level is what we call a data analyst. So a data analyst is really these individuals that can investigate the data for the business, answer questions like what happened, what is a KPI, answer custom business queries. And here you will have to deal with data sources in different forms and different shapes. So there are skills required to be able to do that. You've got data scientists, which take this a little bit further, able to answer more complex and challenging questions like what if. We can test different scenarios. What could happen? A forecast. What should we do? What's the recommendation to the business? And again, this is where models and machine learning comes in the picture. So again, those are skills that are needed in the data world. You now have data engineers, which are much more focused on providing the business with high quality data assets that are reliable. So we can't cheat. They're available for the rest of the business to leverage. Last, but well, not quite least yet, you've got a machine learning engineer, a very specialist role, which is becoming more and more relevant. So it's about how can we scale the benefits of AI? So looking at problems like retraining in a model with dynamic data, now that there is a need. And finally, you also have leaders and managers, which unfortunately, they're in a tough spot, right? Because we live in a world that is fueled with data and new techniques and new tools, and they need to be confident. They need to be able to understand opportunities and recognize challenges as well, so they can ensure that the team and the business is successful. So my last slide here, what I want to show you is actually, now that we live in a data world, everybody requires some fundamental skill set, but you also have an opportunity to build a career and take that further from becoming a user of data and be able to challenge it all the way to actually be able to productionize models. So I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting me to this conference, and I look forward to see you on the panel later on.
Great. Raul, thank you very much for that. And just a reminder, Raul, you have to log out of this session to log into the other session for the panel discussion, just in case you'd forgot. Once again, some very clear insights in terms of the kinds of skills required, the kind of jobs we may see in the future in this space. Personally, I think this is a really growing area. And I think sometimes the education system, not just in the UK, but pretty much around the world, probably doesn't do it justice in terms of how we deal with this. But we've definitely got some questions already lined up, Raul, about this for the panel session later on. So on that note, we'll bring this session to a close, and we'll see you all in a few minutes for the panel session discussion. Thank you very much.